Nearly half of ransomware attacks worldwide target municipalities. To defend against this volatile cyber environment, agencies are turning to a more collaborative approach to cybersecurity called WholeofState. Joining me today to discuss the state of Arizona's WholeofState cybersecurity strategy is the Director of Arizona Department of Homeland Security and State CISO, Tim Roemer. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So why did you decide to implement a WholeofState cybersecurity strategy? What were some of the challenges that you had prior to this that kind of led to that?
I knew we had weaknesses and vulnerabilities, and I know one of the best things that you can do being in an area of leadership, in a position of leadership, when the governor is appointing you and trusting you to come up and break the status quo and to try other things. I knew we didn't have all the answers, and we needed to come together and improve and increase our resources. But in government, you have limited budgets. So I can't just say, oh, let's go out and spend a couple million more extra dollars. We've been really fortunate. We have a governor who is extremely supportive of our cybersecurity mission, and he's been so great to us. He's helped us push ourselves in a direction of better defending the state. And the legislature here in Arizona has come on board as well, giving us, additional funding and resources. But at the end of the day, no dollar figure gives you 100% security. We know we won't get to 100% security, no matter what. But if we come together and we start sharing resources, information sharing, intelligence, best practices, that's going to put us in a better position. One of the best things we could possibly do was to implement a WholeofState approach and buddy up, so to speak, have teamwork.
So how did the Arizona grant program get started, and how has it evolved over time?
So thankfully, due to Governor Ducey's really innovative thought process on this, he wanted to help local governments. He saw what we were up against on cybersecurity, and for a lot of people, cybersecurity was keeping them up at night. The governor had heard from everybody from private sector CEOs to agency directors to leadership within the U.S. federal government, at National Governors Association conferences, from listening to me and other agency directors. We all knew coming together that we had to do more to help everyone. And we saw right away that it was our local governments that were at the biggest disadvantage. What we were able to do is come up with a significant investment of $10 million from the state to be able to help school districts, tribes, city governments, county governments, and really help everybody in the totality of the circumstance. So election security is part of that. We have 15 counties running their own elections every year. So when we help a county on cybersecurity and election security can be the same thing. A lot of times they overlap, but it's a 365-day-a-year battle. Election security is not about protecting election day. It's every day throughout the year. We needed to arm our counties with the tools necessary to protect themselves every day. And that's how we really came up with a grant program for cybersecurity resiliency.
And how did you actually go about implementing a WholeofState cybersecurity strategy? What was that like?
It started with relationships. And so cybersecurity is really no different than any other area that you want to focus on, whether it's public safety or policy in any area. What you have to do is you have to have the relationships in place. You need to have people that trust you and your team, and they're going to really rely on you to get the tools they need and to make them work. If they don't know you, it's really hard for them to trust you. So when you're trying to get a local government to apply for a grant and they don't know you, that's not the right time to be passing out a business card. They're going to need that ahead of time. And we always say within, our field, we say you can't be passing out business cards in an emergency, because at that point it's too late. If you want to run an effective WholeofState government approach to cybersecurity, you want to have a grant program, you need to get out of your office, you need to meet people, develop relationships, trust, and collaboration that brings more people to the table and ultimately will make your entire program more effective.
And what about funding? How does that happen?
So fortunately, as I mentioned, the governor has put $10 million towards this, and the legislature agreed. It's really great to see. Cybersecurity is one of the most bipartisan issues around in this day and age. Right now, it's going to be $10 million a year. My goal is to start with the $10 million, prove it that it's effective, show that we are getting good return on our investment. And once we can prove that, I think we should show that we'll probably end up needing more.
So speaking of that, how will you measure the success?
So great question. One of the ways in cybersecurity that I love to measure success, and people laugh at me for this, is the one metric that we like to see at 0, where somebody will say, show me all these fancy metrics of attacks you've blocked. But what I really want to show is 0 successful attacks. And I get that. I already mentioned there's no such thing as 100% security. So we want to see successful attacks against our local governments. Anybody taking part in the grant program, we want to see them better protected. But I always say that for my job, the metric that's most important is those, hopefully 0 cybersecurity incidents. Or we know that depending on how you characterize these things, there's always going to be incidents and your team's always going to be working on it. You want to see those be as minimal as possible. We want to see every dollar being spent that the state has given to us. I think that's a metric we want to track. And then we want to see vulnerabilities that we've remediated, how fast we've done it. And then we can paint a picture through metrics about how we're helping these organizations better secure themselves than where they were before.
And so how is all this governed?
Oh, fantastic. So we have a cyber grant task force that is really a two-way street in making sure that we're listening to the locals as the ones that are applying for the grants. We need to be really understanding that we are not, mandating what has to happen as much as listening to them on what their needs are, providing them with solutions, and then finding ways to implement those solutions and those tools in a manner that is most effective for them. The good news for them is we have great enterprise tools and we get to use state purchasing power, which is a great deal for everybody, around the state to our taxpayers. We have great working relationships with our vendors and good experience here, but we need to work uniquely with each organization.
You also led the state's effort to launch a new cyber command center. So tell us about how that plays a role in information sharing, as well as how it ties into WholeofState.
Yeah, the Cyber Command Center located within our State Fusion Center, the ACTIC, which is the Arizona Counterterrorism and Information Center. This gives us a one-of-a-kind cyber capability that really, to my knowledge and traveling the country and talking with my counterparts, no other state really has this level of a cyber command center located within their State Fusion Center. That's great for our ability to collaborate with law enforcement, information sharing with our locals. It gives us the ability to be under one roof with our National Guard response partners, with our Department of Public Safety, with everyone being able to work together is both good from an operational perspective, gives us surge capacity during cyber incidents, gives us a better training facility because we have to train.
So what are the benefits of a whole-of-state cybersecurity strategy to the state and those participating in it?
The information sharing is that if one, we'll call it an advanced persistent threat, if one attacker is coming after a city or a county somewhere in the state of Arizona and we don't have a whole-of-state model, we don't know about it. I can't protect 7.5 million Arizonans' data or 36,000 state of Arizona employees. I can't protect them of something I don't know. What's great about WholeofState and building those partnerships and collaboration is you share information in real time, and then we're all stronger together.
And what is your advice for other states going down this path of WholeofState?
Start with a good relationship with your governor's office, making sure that they know the needs of the cybersecurity team within the state, and then make sure that you communicate effectively what those needs are to your legislature. So the grant program, WholeofState government, all this comes together in listening to your locals and getting out of the office and developing those relationships. So what I would say to any state wanting to go down this path, we listen first. We didn't just say out of the blue, hey, you know what we should do? We should start giving away our cybersecurity enterprise tools to people around the state. No, we heard from them first that they needed it.
I like that. Any other lessons learned in this whole process?
Boy, it's been on a daily basis, just trying to be a sponge and learn all of those lessons. I think it's trying to build camaraderie amongst the team and making sure everybody knows why you're doing it and what's at stake. It's a very stressful arena to work in right now, and these challenges are extremely difficult. I'd say that continuing to make sure that our entire WholeofState team understands why this is important, what's at stake, and how we are going to combat it. And they need to understand that that how is having a strategy.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights today. I think people will learn a lot from what you've done here in Arizona and hopefully take that and use that in their states.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maggie Miller.